Hey YouTube, what's up? It's Kofi, and today I thought I'd do a little vlog or share what's going on with me, and you guys can share what's going on with you too if you're a neurodivergent person. I wanted to talk about the holidays. So the holidays can be a complicated time if you're on the spectrum. As a neurodivergent person, it's difficult to navigate society when everyone insists on being much more affectionate and close than usual, especially with their families. Not everyone on the spectrum is interested in close personal relationships with their families or having or interacting with them or being affectionate toward them. So if you know a person on the spectrum or you are on the spectrum, just be mindful of your boundaries and or your person on the spectrum's boundaries and what they may or may not be comfortable with, because we really don't want to violate those. It can cause a shutdown or burnout or even a meltdown. We don't want that. I personally spend a vast majority of my time alone, not because I hate everyone, but because I have a very low social battery, and making plans in advance is good, but then the anxiety I get before the days before the event is bad, and then after the event the recovery is just, it's real bad, trust me. If you're on the spectrum, you know. I also have a lot of sensory issues, especially when the weather changes. I don't know what it is about the weather. I haven't heard many people talk about this, but it's usually pretty hot all the time where I am. And it's usually pretty humid all the time where I am. But when there's a change in humidity, like right now when there's an absence of humidity and it starts to get cooler as we get closer to winter, it's just really bad. I get dehydrated and I get super tired, especially socially, and that makes it harder for me to interact during the holidays as a neurotypical person would. Well, the holidays can be difficult for someone on the spectrum also because we're expected to mask and we're expected to enjoy social gatherings just as much as everybody else. If we don't have the appropriate reaction to something, then we're ostracized for it. Why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you happy? You don't seem excited. Aren't you glad I got you this gift? Of course. Of course we are. It's just that a lot of us don't emote as brightly as society would like us to, and pretending to or masking can cause a lot of internal distress, and it's really not a good thing for us to be doing all the time. A lot of autistic people don't like opening gifts in front of family members and others because there's always this expectation for you to act surprised and delighted and over the top and to mimic a neurotypical person. It can be hard if you're on the spectrum because our excitement can look very different, or it may not look like anything at all. It may be we might have a flat affect, which I do, but even more so when I'm tired during seasons like this. So keep that in mind. I personally don't like Christmas. I'm much more of a Halloween type. Christmas is probably the most neurotypical thing I've ever heard of anyway. It's a day where everyone plans a big social event where they meet up with their family and give them a surprise gift handed to them for them to open and watch their reactions, because they react or you're expecting them to. And I already don't like surprises. I know a lot of people on the spectrum don't like surprises either, very much into planning things. That's the way things should be, you see. Things should be planned. Also, if you or someone you know is on the spectrum, then you should be really considerate of whether or not they like to be touched, or whether you like to be touched, because touching someone on the spectrum who does not like to be touched, it's a horrible experience. I know we're very into hugs and maybe a kiss on the cheek with family. It's not really something that all autistic people want to do. And imagine if you were being touched by someone and you didn't want to be. That's a horrible feeling, right? So just be considerate. Or say, like, oh, set a boundary with that person. Say, I don't really hug, or I don't really like to hug. But however you set your boundary may be dependent on whether or not they know you're on the spectrum, right? So if they know you're on the spectrum, just explain. And if they don't, you can give more of a vague general statement, like, I don't really like to hug, or, oh, you're standing a little close to me. Something like that. And it's not mean. It's not mean to set a boundary. If you don't want to be touched by someone, then they shouldn't touch you. And really, they should ask before they touch you anyway. Another issue for those on the spectrum who are not very social, I'm personally not very social, but for those of us who aren't very social, loneliness can be an issue, because although we may not have the energy, or we have too much social anxiety, or we just don't want to hang out with someone, then we can still get lonely. I'm trying to think of how to describe it, how I would describe it to a neurotypical person. It's like people are like medicine. You may not like the experience of it, the taste or smell or consistency of it, but it heals you all the same. In moderation. You can OD. It's just that every autistic person has their own reasons for why they decide not to go to a social event. But even though they didn't want to go to social events, it doesn't mean that they hate everyone or that they don't care. It's probably because they felt overwhelmed. And it's very easy to feel overwhelmed during the season in particular because of the overactive social aspects that we like to participate in this time of year. And the music and the Christmas lights, and some people might like the lights, or other people might be overstimulated by them. It's just a difficult time, especially well, I know I don't like being cold, and even though it's not cold here, it getting cooler makes a significant difference to me. I pretty much use my heated blanket every day. So how can you connect with someone you love on the spectrum during this time of year? You can ask them what form of communication they're comfortable with. I know I'm way more comfortable with texts or even FaceTime and video chat, much more than regular talking on the phone. I really have trouble talking on the phone. I don't know what it is. I think it feels like something bad's coming out of the phone. Like, it's just, ugh, I hate it. So ask them that, and then you can video chat with them, and you can talk to them, the person you love, and they can talk to you in a way that doesn't make them uncomfortable. And that's what we all want, right? We want our loved ones to be comfortable, and you want to be comfortable if you're the autistic person. So yeah, this is the season where I kind of hermit into my room, and I have my heated blanket and my stuffed animals, and I just cuddle up in bed and drink tea and be cozy. Also, this time of year is also when I get finished with finals. So there is kind of a break in between semesters for me, and I really need to relax. And all the energy that school takes, I really don't have energy for much more, and it causes me to feel a lot of guilt because I want to be like the neurotypicals when I see them on social media, on Instagram, and in their Snapchat stories, and they're all hanging out and going to parties and stuff. And I'm so grateful to have been invited to any parties at all. I'm glad people like me. It's just that I don't know how to describe it. I can't. Like, I can't do it. I want to, but it's gonna make me so uncomfortable. So, one good solution is to find activities that you're comfortable doing. Just write them out. Make a list of activities that you'd be comfortable doing. Maybe something mirrored, like getting coffee, you two sit across from a table, chit chat about whatever you want, and caffeinate. Or you could get some tea, go get some boba with a friend. And those are some good ways to keep in contact face to face. Despite making this video, I'm also taking a really huge break from social media. Every once in a while, I'll disable my Instagram accounts because Instagram makes me feel so bad about myself. And it does a lot of other people too. Taking a social media break is also really nice for the holidays. As a neurodivergent person, things like Instagram and Facebook can be very upsetting when you see everyone doing their neurotypical things on a broader scale than you're capable of. And there can be a lot of guilt because of that.